Good morning. Welcome to Michell Consulting's webinar sessions for SAP Business One. Today we're going to talk about the procurement process. In this demonstration, I'm actually using SAP's version 8.82. We're going to go show you some of the new features that are in SAP. This is called the procurement process. This is a function that allows us to create purchase orders and purchase quotes from a sales order on a one-to-one relationship or in a range of orders. So before we begin, let's talk about some new concepts in SAP. I'm going to go into the inventory, item master, and I'm going to show you one of the changes that SAP has made now for this version. As you remember, those who have worked with SAP before, we had a preferred vendor per item. This was a one vendor per item. SAP now allows us to keep the preferred vendor as well as other vendors. So you can see here when I open up the box, I have Acme Associates as my preferred vendor, and I have two other vendors. I have Far East Imports and LaserCom. These other vendors will be used in the purchase quotation function. SAP is going to allow us to create purchase quotations, send those quotations out to vendors, get pricing, get costing, and then determine which one of these we want to use to actually create our purchase order. So you can see here some of the changes. If I go into the purchase in AP, you can see now we have the purchase quotation. Again, the purchase quotation allows us to create the quote. It's not going to affect any of the on-order quantity, and then from there it allows us to create the purchase orders. Right? And this is done in a two-step process. You can do the procurement on a one-to-one basis from the sales order, or you can look at a range of sales orders and create the quotes through the range. I'm going to start by actually creating a sales order and going through the sales order process. So we're going to go here and we're going to create a sales order. And I'm going to use Earthshaker. I'm going to put today's date. And I'm going to choose this item here. We're going to create our sales order. In the Logistics tab, we have the option of creating the purchase at this moment. So we're going to select the Procurement Document, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to add this. Remember, if we look at the item, we see that we have our three vendors. So let's go ahead and let's add this sales order. And this is going to open up the procurement confirmation wizard. Now, this wizard can be used in this sense on a one-to-one relationship. And the second part of the training, I'm going to show you how to use this for many sales orders. But right now, we're going to actually create our sales order. We're going to step through the process. It allows us to look at all the corresponding orders. We're going to select this one we just did, which is 274. Again, if we open up, we can see the information we have right here. So we're going to highlight this line, select this line, we're going to go next, and now we have some options. We can see the target document. We have the option of doing a purchase order, a purchase quote, and even a production order for using production. We also have the ability of creating them as drafts or creating the actual order. Now you notice when I select purchase order, I only have the one vendor. Again, because this was, from the item, the preferred vendor. If we notice here in the item, we can see this is the preferred vendor. If we select purchase quotation, now what's happening, because we have these three vendors set up, we're going to create a quotation for each one of these. We're going to leave it like this. We're going to create an actual quote. We won't create the draft, and we'll just go through the process. Again, here you can make changes to the quantities. Again, for this example, we're just going to keep it as one, but we can change the quantities along the way. We're going to go here, and again, it's going to show everything that's going to create. So we're going to create three purchase quotes for this one. Now, this is also a function here that you see, this purchase group. You can see these are part of group 9. This is important because these purchase orders are going to be linked together. So later on, we're going to go send these out to the corresponding vendors. We're going to get our quotes back, and then we're going to make a decision of which one of these we want to select. So SAP groups these together. So these are all set here for group 9. I'm going to click Next. And again, we have some options. We can do some consolidation options and so on. All right, we're just going to go ahead and let it go through. Again, we're going to see the information, and we're going to run the process. And you can see here that we created documents 24, 25, and 26. Okay. So if we go here, we can then go into purchase orders, purchase quotations, and you can see that we created the corresponding items. Now, another feature which is nice in this SAP, which is not related to this, which is, but I'm going to show you anyway, because this is a nice feature, and we're going to be doing some more detailed training on this, is the document relationship and the relationship map. If you notice when you open the purchase quotation, you see that it's based on this sales order. Right? But one of the issues that everybody used to have is that if I go to a sales order and I select the sales order here, I used to lose that link. If I go to my target and base documents, there's no relationship between the sales order and the purchase order. The relationship is within the sales process. So the relationship would be if the base document is a sales quote going into a sales order, and then the target document was the delivery and so on. Now with SAP, I can do a simple right-click, and I can go to the relationship map, and I have this feature now. So what this is showing me, everything that's involved in the sales order. You can see that this sales order created 3 purchase quotations. You can also see the business partners that are involved. The sales order business partner is Earthshaker, and my 3 corresponding business partners or vendors for this. I can easily double-click, and I can open up the orders, and I can go here and the same thing, and I can open up the orders. Okay, so there we go, the process. So now we're going to complete this process, and then we'll go into the process for the wizard for many. So now I have my 3 quotations out here. So let's actually update these. Let's say these 3 quotations went out to a vendor. So we're going to call up this one. And we got back here, so we're going to say 1, and we're going to put a price of, say, 150. This is what came back on the quotation. Let's change that. Issue there. Take the quantity out here and just actually do this without the quantity. So let's take care of this one. Let's go into this one here. Let's say 150. So we have our links here. So we can see the link on the purchase orders. So we have our 3 POs here. So now what we can do is we have these orders. So now we want to decide which ones are going to be used for the final PO and actually finally create the purchase order. So we can go here into our comparison report, and I'm going to go here to the group number, and this is group number 9. Okay, and I'm going to look at group number 9, and I can see in group number 9 that I have the information here. Okay, this one's coming up in red because this is the lowest price, and you can see here it's telling me to suggest this one to create the purchase order. I can select either one I want, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to select this one. So we're going to go here, and we're going to create the purchase order. Let me put my quantity in. Let's create the purchase order. And what it's going to do, it's going to ask me if I want to close the other purchase orders, the other purchase quotes within the same group. That's the key to the group. Since I've selected this one of the 3 of my group 9, there's no reason to keep the other purchase quotations open. So I'm going to close those. So we're going to say yes. Okay, so now we're going to go out, and if we see here, we have this one here, and we're done. And let's go back now to our sales order. Let's look at the relationship. Now you can see what we've done is our sales order created these 3 purchase quotes, and this purchase quote created the purchase order. If we look at purchase quote 25, we can see that is closed. Right? You can see it's based on sales order 274. You can also see that purchase quotation 26, we closed. Again, that's what the group is doing. We close these 2 because we have our actual purchase order from here. Then we can actually now select our purchase order. So we have the purchase order of what we want to have. We can go ahead now and keep this purchase order. We can send it out. And using the regular flow of SAP, when the purchase order comes in, we can copy it to a goods receipt PO. Okay, let's just add that. So we've completed the process for this sales order. Let's go back and look at the sales order. And now you can see the process. So we started with a sales order. In this case, we asked for 3 purchase quotations based on the vendors within the item. So we created our 3 purchase quotations. We decided to take purchase quotation 24 and create the actual purchase order, 277. Simultaneously, we closed out purchase quote 25 and 26, since we no longer need these. And then from there, we did the goods receipt PO. So SAP allows that new functionality, which is kind of nice. You can actually go out and get a request for quote and show information. Now that was on the one-to-one relationship. What I can do is I can actually do it here to the confirmation wizard, which is the same process, right? But what it's doing is it's allowing me to go in and select many customers and many ranges. The other one I showed you was the one-to-one relationship, where I was taking one sales order and creating it from one sales order. But now I have several sales orders, and I want to use several sales orders to actually create. So here I can go and I can add my business partners. I can select a range of business partners. If I have my business partners by groups, I can determine groups, and I can use my properties. So we're going to go here, and again, for purposes of the demonstration, we're just going to stick with the earth shaker. So we're going to take these off, and we're going to take earth shaker and work with earth shaker. So again, we're going to go through the process again. We're looking at all the information for earth shaker. So we can go and we can select a specific order. Let's say we want to take these orders here, this one, and this one. We can click Next, and again, based on the information, you can see that the item here has one vendor as the preferred vendor, which is used for the purchasing system, and we have our other vendors, which are used for the quotes. So we have the same principle. If we go and we create a purchase order, we're going to get those two. If we create the purchase quotation, we allow us to select many ranges. We can also create a production order. So I'm going to go back for a moment, and I'm going to select this one here. This sales order I created has a bill of material. So we can do the same process. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to select this one. So we can go next. We can still do the same. We can create the purchase quotations. We can create the purchase orders. In this case, the item only has one vendor, so they're going to be the same. And I can go here and actually create a production order. So if we're using production's bill of materials and we have the information, we can actually go in and create the production orders. We can take that a step further in the materials resource planner, and then from that production order, we can then create purchase orders or quotes based on the information we may need for that one. So we have the process to do it this way. So let's go back and let's select select a couple here, this one, and this one. So we'll select sales order 266 and 269. We'll go next. We're going to create the purchase quotation. Again, you're going to see the base documents here. I have these three, okay, for these items and these vendors and so on and so on. We can click next. Again, we can see the information here, everything we want to do. If we go back, we have the ability here of making changes. So we can change the quantities that are coming from the actual sales orders. Okay, and then we're going to go here and we're going to click next. And you can see that we created 27, 28, and 29. Okay, so if we go to our purchase quotations, again, you can see how we created this one here, number 29, which is part of primary group 10. You can see we created 28, which is also part of group 10, and 27, which is group 10. Again, the group is the linking of the purchase quotes because these three quotes were all based on multiple sales orders and the items are unique. So that's the link between the two. So now I have the same principle. I can send these quotes out. I can select the ones I want, and then when I'm ready, I can go in and actually set the information and do it that way in the generation wizard. So let's go back here. Again, we can see the purchase quotations that we have. Okay, and again, we can go from these quotations. We can make our changes to these quotations. We can add our unit prices, and we can determine which ones we want to do. At this point, we can put a price, and we can go ahead and update this, and we can go ahead and close this out. And again, the purchase quotation report, comparison report allows us to go in, select our groups, see all our groups, and make our decisions, and actually create our purchase order. When that purchase order is created, then the system will go in and actually close the corresponding purchase orders. So the procurement process allows us to actually create the quotations, purchase quotations, and then from there, send them out and actually create our actual sales orders. So that's one of the nice new features that are in the SAP Business One 8.82, the whole process of the quotations and the items. So to recap, we can see that now we have some new features. We have the ability of selecting multiple vendors for a particular item as opposed to the old SAP where we just had that one preferred vendor. We can set a vendor as default, so if I was to switch this one and set that to default, that would become the preferred vendor, right? And so on. So we can create many ranges. The preferred vendor is what's going to actually create the purchase order. I still have the flexibility and the functionality of the standard SAP, the older version of SAP, that I can still not have to do purchase quotes. I can still run this procurement, and I can create quotes automatically without having to use the quotations if I, buy everything from one corresponding vendor. I can do that. We have that. We have the concept of the purchase quotation. Purchase quotation allows us to go out and send bids to different vendors. We do not affect the quantity orders until we actually create the purchase orders. We can see that from the sales order here, that here we can create that by going into the logistics tab on a one-to-one relationship. So we can select on the logistics tab the procurement document. This will allow us to run the process. This process is similar in the old SAP, but the old SAP only allowed you to create the purchase order. But it actually runs the procurement confirmation wizard on a one-to-one relationship, so it creates the one vendor. We also have something nice here, which is a relationship map, which shows the link. Again, one of the issues in the old one is that we lost that link here with the sales order to that. If I was to take this sales order, let's say, and copy it to a delivery, do that. The issue we had, if we go back to the sales order, you can see that my target document, in this case, is going to be the delivery. I've lost that link between the PO. Now with the relationship map, I can right-click, click here, and I have everything that I need on one screen. So I can see the same process. You can see that the sales order, we started with the sales order. We created 3 quotations. We decided to take this quotation, turn into a purchase order. From that purchase order, we did a goods receipt PO. And then the sales order, after we received the merchandise, we took the sales order and we created the delivery. At any time, I can click on the document. I can open up the documents. And again, I can see all the information about the document. You can also see that this one here, since it created the purchase order, we have these that were closed. Again, the link is this group now. So we're linking all the purchase quotations via a group. So these are all group 9 to determine the ones we want. We can take that a step further. If we want to, instead of doing this in a one-to-one relationship, we want to enter several orders throughout the day. And at the end of the day, we want to go in and we want to create the process. We can do it here. So we have the ability of looking at all the information. All right. And you can see, in this case, we're going to use one for the example, where you can see all the sales orders for Earthshaker, and we can select our range. We can do this, and we can select all the POs we want. Maybe we want to do a different date range, so we want to double-click, and we want to sort this by date, let's say, and we want to take these 2 recent ones here. Where you can click next. Again, we see the information. So we can do a purchase order using the preferred vendor or the purchase quotation, using all the vendors, or we can actually create a production order. We can run this program. We have the ability of going in and making any changes we want to both quantities. Once we do this and we create our orders, you can go and see our outstanding purchase quotes. We would then send these quotes out to the corresponding vendors. When we get the information back in, we would go in, we would update our quotations, adding our costs, and then after we add our cost, we can use the report to make our comparison. So again, everything's at our fingertips here. We can, in this case, look at 9 again. We can see everything about 9. We can see that it's selecting this one because this is the best price. So from there, we can actually create our purchase orders. We can group these by items as well as vendors. This is closed because I selected here. I want to display only opens. I can do the same thing. Okay, again, we at this point would have updated the pricing on our quotations as we saw with group 9, and we would select to create our purchase order. So we have the ability of doing it on a one-to-one relationship through the sales order by selecting the procurement tab on the logistics, or we can do the entire range. So that's a nice feature we have in SAP. That's really good. It allows our clients to do that now. We can actually create requests for quotes. So we have the ability of going out and selecting, and then from that point on, we can go ahead and select our quotation. Also, the relationship map is a very useful tool. Again, it gives us a clear picture of everything, one stop. One of the issues that was before in SAP was you lost a lot of those links. So here, by just doing the relationship map, again, I have everything at my fingertips. So I can see all the business partners involved, all the marketing documents involved. Okay. Well, that concludes our little session on the procurement process. I don't know if we have any questions out there. Do we have any questions? No. Okay. Just want to let you know that we do these sessions every couple weeks. We do for both SAP Business One and our other distribution software and for fax. These will be posted on our website, so you'll be able to watch this recording on our website. So again, once again, that concludes Michell Consulting's SAP Business One session on the procurement process. You can visit us online at mitchellgroup.com and like us on Facebook. Again, if there's no questions, this will conclude the session. And I thank you for your time.